Look, the way I categorize their season, they came together, win a championship. They obviously failed at that. But I think we all know there's one reason they're not playing. Injuries. And I get it. So many teams have been besieged by injuries, so no one's feeling sorry for them. But this team is not playing because of injuries. We all said, even though we didn't, even Nick, we all agreed. There were one of three things that could stop the Nets from winning it this year. I mean, he had the Lakers, but outside of that, their chemistry or lack thereof, only playing 8 games, 14 you mentioned, Jenna, that wasn't a problem. Their defense, they D'd up Milwaukee really well. They held them to 44% shooting, 102 points a game, 105 scoring, offensive rating, which was 12 below their regular season. The defense was fine. Injuries was the third thing, and that's what befell them. And let me say this, and I know I went Kenny Smith, it's over, all that, and I picked the Nets. And obviously because I picked them, I wanted them to win. We all want to be right. But I said on other FS1 shows, maybe even this one, that I didn't think it, as much as I wanted the Nets to win, I didn't think it would be good for the NBA if they won the championship. Because it would have been straight AAU. It would have been, let's grab the best player from LA, the best player from Maryland, the best player from New Jersey for a weekend, throw them together, no practice, nothing. They barely know the plays, and we beat everybody else in the country. That's what it would have been. And if Milwaukee and Giannis win it, if Phoenix and Chris Paul win it, if the Clippers and Paul George win it, it will feel better. It will be more in line with what we've all come to expect from the NBA, that you have to suffer in most cases. You have got to suffer before you win the championship. Michael, LeBron, Kevin Garnett, Dirk, Isaiah, and we could go on and on. They had to suffer before getting the ring. So one of those teams, I mean, if Atlanta wins it, I don't know what to say about that. But if one of those other three teams wins it, then it'll be more in line with what the NBA has been about. And so I think this is good for the Nets. This is their suffering.
Broussard, you said there were three things we were worried about with the Nets. Yeah, and the first and the third are why they didn't win the title. Chemistry? They only played 8 games together. What? No, hold on. Why did they only play 8 games together? Was it because guys were just like they were cycling on different schedules? No. It was because they weren't healthy together. And the third thing was, maybe injuries. When you build a big three, when you already have KD and Kyrie, KD, who hadn't played in 2 years, and Kyrie, who, aside from his run, even including one of the years his run with LeBron, has not finished seasons throughout his career. He's been injured for the 2015, 2018, 2020 postseasons. And you go even further to that model, trade away more of your depth, trade away more of your future flexibility for another star. You are running this risk. That's undeniable. You're saying, I picked the Nets, but they got hurt. Well, one of the reasons some of us didn't pick the Nets is they were the most likely team, based on this regular season, of any team we had seen to deal with some type of injury. Now, what they have going for them is the concern about Kevin Durant, what will he be post-Achilles? Somehow the answer is even better. Durant was sensational, brilliant in all facets of the game. And I know, let me say one thing that I think you'll agree with here. There are legions of LeBron fans on the internet and in the media that are saying, KD, 0 for 6 in overtime, due to KD what would be done to LeBron. And I thought Dragonfly Jones made a great point on this, which is the lesson for how we've treated LeBron is not we should treat other people as irrationally. It's how insane some of that commentary was, and to do it to no one. Durant was brilliant. He deserves a ton of credit. But with everything you're saying, if they win Game 7, Broussard, I think they are the overwhelming title favorites. Because Kyrie's not done for the season. Harden is right. And so then we also have to talk about one of the big reasons they didn't win Game 7. which is they are a poorly coached team. Is Joe Harris not allowed to be taken out of the game? Is there it in his contract? I know he just signed an extension. Can they not sub him out? Jeff Green, can you play him more? And most importantly, in overtime, when the entire world knows Kevin Durant is gassed, when the transition opportunity is dead because KD's given the ball to Harden, he gave the ball to Harden 4 feet in front of Steve Nash. That's what timeouts are for, buddy. Call timeout, draw up a play, give KD 2 minutes to sit down and breathe, and maybe you win. Coaching still matters, and Nash, can't believe I'm saying this, got out coached by Budenholzer. Nash was not good in the regular season, punting on the 1 seed. They'd have beaten the Hawks in the series if they had been the 1 seed, even with the injuries. And I thought in the playoffs, his entire coaching philosophy was, I'm just going to play the same 5 guys 48 minutes, and we'll see how it works out. That's undeniable.
No, it's very deniable. Look, Nash made plenty of mistakes, and you're right, the timeout and all that. But I actually think you got to give Steve Nash some credit for the regular season. You just mentioned it. Injuries all over the place. And yet they were in position to have the best record in the East. Now, I blame, I'm looking at this team, their whole approach. Kyrie just taking 3 weeks off for who knows why. You know, Kevin Durant and Harden being healthy at times and still deciding, whether it was them or the staff, deciding to sit them. That laissez-faire approach or nonchalant approach to the regular season was a problem. Yes, Nash made some big mistakes, but still, to get that team all on the same page, no matter how much you want to credit the players for doing that, he got them on the same page. He was able to play them and win through all of the injuries. I got to give him some credit for that. And again, I'm not denying the mistakes. But I got to give him some credit for that. And Harden, look, James Harden, you won't find a bigger fan in the media of James Harden than me. But James Harden, I give him some leeway because of the hamstring. And he said it was even worse than we suspected, right? But James Harden still missed tons of open three-pointers. Again, maybe a lot of it was the hammy. But if he just makes a few of those, 1, 2 of those, they win. And the same is true for Joe Harris. And as far as being exhausted, Nick, we got into it last week about that. My thing was, don't tell me they were out of it for Game 6 because of exhaustion, because games to games don't carry over. They were in the second round of the playoffs. If they're exhausted in the second round of the playoffs, they deserve to be out. But in one game, a guy can get tired if you're playing 50 minutes. But everybody played 50. Chris Middleton played all but 39 seconds. Giannis played over 50 minutes. And so Durant was tired in Game 7 at the end, but that was because at the end, he was carrying them completely. He was just handing the ball to KD at half court or, between the three-point line and half court and saying, go. Get us something. And that was what made KD so exhausted. It was 1-on-3 because Middleton and Drew Holiday, who had been horrible the first half, stepped up and helped Giannis down the stretch.
All right, Broussard, you said you don't want to see them win the title this year because you felt like it would be kind of too AAU-ish. A bunch of stars come together.
I wanted them because I picked them.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted them because I picked them, but I thought it wouldn't have been good for the NBA.
Okay, and then you listed a bunch of guys who had to go through some adversity. So I'm with you because I think this adversity is good for them. I think they come back a stronger team. I think Nash keeps his job. I know there's some a little bit of rumblings, but I think Nash keeps his job and comes out of this a better coach. I think the team has kind of gelled. You saw there's a video on Twitter going around of KD's last shot and Kyrie rooting for him. You saw Kyrie sort of behind him, sort of always cheering him on. That team is a real team. So like you said, any idea that they would just be sort of this amalgamation of disparate parts and not really working together, that wasn't the case. So I think they're going to be even better next year. How good are they going to be? I don't think it's off the board that they go 74-8. And Nick said it's the worst take he's ever heard in his life, and I'm trying to figure out why. If that team wants to win every game and takes it seriously and stays healthy, which KD has been healthy, he looks good. Harden has no history of injuries, and although
if I sprout wings, I'll fly out of the studio. You're saying all these things. If they take the regular season seriously, what is the last time we've seen that happen? Hold on, I'm just curious. What's the last time we've seen a Kevin Durant-led team care about the regular season? It was when he was in Oklahoma City. Golden State didn't. They could. That's a team that really could have gone 74-8 if they cared. Didn't. Kyrie, famously, not worried about the regular season. If they stay healthy. Well, they were the most injured team in the NBA this season. Like, the idea, we can't, the reason I said it's the worst take I've ever heard is because it's just assuming things that could happen that we actually should believe the opposite will happen. And I'm going to say the same thing about the Nets that I said about Philly, but different. These opportunities only come around so often. And the Nets' biggest weakness, aside from coaching and injuries, was always going to be, what if they have to deal with a true big man? Well, they could have won the title this year without ever playing Embiid, without ever playing Jokic, without ever playing Anthony Davis. I doubt that path exists for them down the road. And DeAndre Jordan walking through that door isn't fixing it. It's a big missed opportunity for them.
They don't have to fear any of them.
It didn't have to be.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.